Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Spiritual Grind. We hope you enjoy it, and don't forget to follow, hit the little bell for your notifications when the podcast is posted, and like, follow, and share with your friends. We hope you enjoy it. Leave a comment if there's any topics that you want us to speak about.
Like, follow, share.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jenni. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. We've been delayed a little bit because of the hurricane that came through Florida. It's been a little crazy around here.
Good morning.
But we're back in the studio and creating podcasts again now that everything's got a little bit of normalcy back in the area. And so here we are once again.
We've put our kayak away and we're now earthbound again.
Yeah, it was crazy here. 100-mile-an-hour winds, 126-mile-an-hour gusts. It was a pretty crazy hurricane that came through, and there's been lots of people that were affected by it. So keep everybody in your thoughts and your energetic exchanges, and, let's put everybody up on a pedestal to bring their reality back to normal. Be a good thing.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, whatever their reality is. But anyway, so we're back in studio, and we're here to talk about a couple things. So I want to prelude this conversation with, do you ever go through life and have situations that happen that you perceive different from others, and you create a result based off your perceptions and your expectations that other people don't view the same?
All the time.
And Dr. Jenni and I talked about this morning. It's about definitions, how we define things, and how we define the differences in interactions, in exchanges, in life's little ups and downs, as some people would call them. We prefer more ups than downs, but how do you define those situations, and why do you define them that way?
Right. Yeah. The definitions are what create the belief.
I agree. Or does the belief create the definition?
No.
No.
The definition that you give it creates the belief, and the belief is a mechanism that always must be true. So it will create, you will use those beliefs to create realities, even on a unconscious level, to keep that belief being true. So if your definition is wonky, then you're going to create a belief that's wonky, thereby creating a reality that is wonky. Just like when you started with the hurricane, a new definition, instead of a hurricane being defined as a bad thing or an unpleasant thing, a new definition could be that, like we talked about the other day, about the trees. And you said if they would change the tree that's protected here in Florida, then we wouldn't have all these trees that fell and broke and caused so much damage. A new definition could be that that's Mother Nature's way of living through a loophole that humans created by bringing about a hurricane so that those branches would break off that are no longer viable in life, or bringing the whole tree down. Then the hurricane comes through, it breaks off the branches that we as humans are not willing to cut because it's a protected tree, thereby bringing back some vitality to the tree or the living thing in that manner. And so that's a positive way to look at the hurricane.
A little bit of a spin difference there.
Yeah.
a little bit. And like what Jenny's talking about is the Florida state tree is the live oak. They're very shallow rooted, and like every tree that's down after a hurricane is a live oak. And so maybe it is Mother Nature just cleaning out the trash, removing the old to get rid of the new.
Yeah.
To bring in the new. And
Right.
that's kind of what definitions do, right?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is that if the collective is really fussing and carrying on as humans, when something tragic happens, what does it do?
Pulls everybody together.
Pulls everybody together, and we all
Help each other
you
out.
said in the intro, put that positive energy out there for everybody, keep them in your thoughts, put them on a pedestal, bringing everybody together, bringing about that compassionate heart, putting everybody in that, oh my gosh, this happened. There's so many people out there suffering. Let's give them more love and compassion.
Right.
So that again is just a different spin on it, brings the collective back together to do what we naturally are meant to do, which is have love, understanding, and compassion for the whole.
Yes. The previous podcast that we did was about what's your superpower. And a lot of the times our superpowers can be...
Did you edit that one yet?
It's not posted yet, but it will be before this one goes up.
Oh, I was going to say, they don't even know what you're talking about. I don't think we got that one edited yet.
No, it'll be up, and I'm going to plan on doing it tonight and finishing it up. I'm almost done with it. But our superpower can be the fact that we define things differently, and we help people to see different directions and different perspectives on situations that happen. And when we define our situations to be differently thought through and allow the energies and the belief system to operate in those manners, sometimes when we define them, it creates the reality that's not always in our best interest.
Yes, I agree. That's exactly how it works. Is if you've got a definition that is out of whack,
Antiquated,
out of date, weird, then you're going to create a belief, which is basically rules by which you live unconsciously or even consciously. Then you're going to have certain actions come from your physical body that are going to create situations, circumstances, and events to make that belief true.
whether it's good or not.
Whether it's pleasant or whether it's unpleasant, it doesn't matter. It's going to make itself true always.
So let's give an example. Like the other day, we had one of the people that reside in our facility. She made a statement to me of she don't understand why Mother Nature does this to her kids. And because her kids are out without power, without water, and she don't understand why it happens. And she's praying to God about it and all this negative reasoning that she put behind it.
Yeah.
When I was talking to her, I was like, well, did you think of it that maybe they had to get rid of the old to bring in the new? You know, they had to, like she was talking about how her son's addition to her house got the tree fell on it. And he had been talking about he should cut that tree down because he was afraid of it and all this other stuff. And now hindsight's 2020. But why does God do this? And so I was like, you got to take it in a different thought process. Is he wasn't listening to his intuitive self of, hey, this tree needs to come down. It needs to get off my property because it's going to damage my home. Instead of, or accepting the fact that he wasn't listening to his own intuition based on his own definitions and creating his own reality. And so he kind of, in a way, if he'd have listened to his intuition, he may have prevented this thing that she is defining as negative.
Or if he had just changed the definition and not been afraid of the branch.
Right.
And eliminated the fear of it falling, that has a frequency.
Yes.
And it will bring more of that frequency of fear to you. And most of the time it brings about the very thing that you're afraid of.
Because it makes it true.
But, yeah.
Right.
By definition of the whole mechanism and how it works. It's a frequency that you're putting out. And so if you're afraid that the tree's going to fall, then the tree is going to fall. I don't remember who said the statement, but it was a very accurate statement. If you believe you can or you believe you can't, either way, you're correct.
Yes. That was that guy at that seminar.
Napoleon Hill, maybe, or no, it was somebody.
Oh, a long time ago.
Long time ago. It was one of those, and I don't remember exactly who it is. Please forgive me for not giving you ample credit, but I acknowledge that you're one of the greats, and you did say it, and it is completely spot on. If you believe you can't, then you won't. If you believe you can, then you will. And so that's why beliefs are very vital.
Yeah.
But the definitions around the things that you believe in are as important as well.
Right.
And so looking at what you're defining, because if you are giving something a definition, are you giving it a definition that is accurate?
Correct.
Or have you created a story in your head that is your perspective of what the situation, person, or whatever is thinking, and then because of that, you give it a definition that is not beneficial, and then in creating a belief, and then from there, you're creating a reality that's unpleasant.
What comes to mind for me is a long time ago, I heard a story, and a friend of ours just recently bought me a poster that really reflects upon this. It is called The Tale of Two Wolves. So there's this grandpa talking to a grandson, and the son had a problem at school, and he comes to his grandpa, and his grandpa's telling him, have you heard about the two wolves? One's a good wolf, one's a bad wolf. And they get into this daily argument and fight. They fight. They're destroying each other's reality. The grandson turned to the grandpa and said, well, who won the fight? And the grandpa says, the wolf that you feed. So if you have a good wolf or a bad wolf, and what made this relate to me in this thought process was we define good and bad.
Yeah.
And so whichever wolf, the wolf that they're defining as bad could be defined by somebody else as good. And I think that's the major thing in this definition part is understanding that everybody has a little bit different definition of every topic out there, every situation that happens, every belief. I think the big awakening part of that is we have to be accepting of everybody's definitions. Just because it doesn't match our definition
Doesn't mean it's wrong.
doesn't mean it's wrong.
Right. Because a bigger viewpoint of it is that we are, every single one of us on every level, in every aspect, are as unique as our own fingerprint in our beliefs, in our definitions, in our energy patterns, in our physical bodies, in our body makeup. I mean, that's why, like in the physical world, some people can take this medicine and it positively benefit them. Other people can take it and it negatively benefit them. Like, that's what's wrong with, I think, the whole premise of spirituality and religion and health and all of that, is that the they is trying to cram us all into a blanket concept that we're all the same and that this thing or that thing is going to work for every single one of us. So getting to a place of understanding that there's that many different religions because each religion resonates spiritually with that group of individuals.
Agreed.
There's that many medications out there because that particular medication resonates differently with each individual in the way that it should or is supposed to. And you can look at that in every single thing that's out there. Different things resonate with different people at different times, even.
In different ways. Yep.
And in different ways. You know, we are constantly evolving, changing individuals from one parallel reality to the next every single second. And I've said that in other podcasts. You're a whole different person from frame to frame, which is every single millisecond. You're a whole different person. And what resonates with you yesterday or even 2 seconds ago may not be what resonates with you in a minute or in an hour or in the next day. And so giving yourself space to be that changing person, because as I bring it back around to definitions, if you have a definition that you have to have, say, this daily routine that keeps you grounded, and you stick to that like glue, and it has to be the same way, you're not giving space for your own self to evolve. But if you say the intention of, I want to grow and evolve as a spiritual being, as a physical being, as a human, but then you put yourself in this box of, okay, I've got to follow this step by step, and I've got to do it for the rest of my life or for the next 30 days or whatever. And you're not kind of listening to the intuition of your energy body, your physical body, your mental body, then you're not giving yourself space to evolve and grow, because you've got yourself confined to this belief based on the definition that, oh my gosh, I have to follow this step by step routine, whether it be a physical routine, a mental routine, or energy routine. And if I don't, something is going to go wrong. And so I guess what I'm saying is giving yourself space for that routine to change on a minute by minute basis. Maybe it does stick with you and resonate with you for a week, a month, a year. Either way, it's not right or wrong. It just is what it is, and giving yourself that space to grow and evolve as you've requested.
Right.
If you request it and then you're not letting it in because you have all of these criteria that it's got to be this way or it's got to be this way because they, whoever the they is, the book that you read or the church that you went to or the parent that you were raised by said, it has to look like this or you're not successful, or it has to look like this or you won't get well. Those are all conditions that are keeping you confined to a specific reality. Then what happens is that tangles up with the sense of loss of control, then the sense of, oh my gosh, this is not working. I can't evolve like I want to. It's not meeting the expectations that I have or the things that I want to see happen. It's because that's all getting jammed up and jumbled up because you've got definitions in place that are not letting you grow and expand. So as a spiritual being, we come here for the pure, simple experience of expansion, and growth. That is the whole purpose, and whatever that looks like. And so the reality of it is, on a bigger scale, there is not a right or wrong. You never get it done, number one.
Yeah, you're never done.
You're never done. And you don't get it. It's not right or wrong. It's not right or wrong. It's whatever it's serving the purpose of in that moment.
Correct.
And it could change moment to moment.
Well said. Very well said. Good job.
Thanks.
That was always.
Where's my?
Oh, it was very well said. Yeah. Woo. Yeah. I think part of that we should add to it is being open and receptive to why. So when there's a situation that happens that puts us in a controversial place, or a action that we do that we don't like, but we don't know, why did I do this? Or why did this happen? I think the question why is a crucial part of understanding when definitions need to change.
It can be, but it can also jam you up if you're not careful, because sometimes we're not meant to know what the why is yet.
Uh-huh. I agree.
And so if you hyper focus on why is this happening to me, and it's not time for you to see what the why is, because the universe is orchestrating this much bigger, magnificent thing, and you knowing what the why is would change the manifestation of this thing, then you're not going to get the why.
Understood.
And so you kind of have to be careful with the why.
I get it, but I know when I have something that happens to me, I always stop after my emotions get out of the way of it. because emotions seem to hinder me from really thinking through something. And so I have to get my emotions out of the way, clear the energy of it, and then stop and say, why did this happen to me? What is it that I can identify as something that did not resonate with what happened or what occurred, and did I set the intention inappropriately based on a definition that is antiquated or doesn't fit into my reality anymore? That is when I say why, is stopping and figuring out, okay, so what's the definition of this? What's the definition of that? One of the situations that come to mind in my reality is, our current status of employment, and things happen in this that we can't control. Well, let me rephrase that. It's not that we can't control them. We're creating our reality, but like our company does things that I wouldn't necessarily do.
Right. So were you finished with your thought process?
Not quite. And so I have always asked myself, why am I looking at this negatively when it's their company? All I do is operate within their parameters. So that kind of gives me a little bit of ease of mind when I can identify why it's bothering me. Like, for example, in this one topic I'm talking about, the reason why is because I wouldn't have done it that way. But I have to be okay with it because I've accepted those parameters that I work within their company.
Right. No, I mean, you have to do whatever makes it feel better for you. Because
Right.
again, like I've talked about, your gauge in all of that is your feelings.
Yes.
And whatever it is you need to do to make yourself get to a feel better place within it so that you can have a different perspective or a different viewpoint on it. Because if you're still in that vibrational frequency of feeling the heavier emotions or the less feel good emotions within it, the solution or the clarity has a different vibrational frequency than the thing that you're viewing as the uncomfortable aspect.
Yeah.
They're on two different frequencies. And so you've got to find a way to get to a feel better place so that you can vibrationally align with the different perspective of the thing and bring it into play or have a different understanding. And so, yes, whatever those techniques are, whatever that looks like for each individual to get to that place of feel better is what has to be in play.
Yeah,
and not any one of us, not even us, can tell anybody what that is. All we can do is give suggestions on, okay, you know what? This worked for me. Try it on for size and see how it feels. If it works for you, great, use it. If it doesn't, file 13 that booger and move on to the next thing. Don't be afraid to try things.
Right.
And don't take what we say as the Bible or the gospel on, okay, if I do the things that James and Jenni are saying to do, then my whole world is going to change and it's all going to be better. Because that's not what we're saying.
Which is what we hope happens, though. But
of course, that's our intention, is that everybody figures out how to get to that place and have amazing reality. But we're just giving tricks and techniques that worked for us along the way for people to try on.
I agree.
So whatever that looks like for you, and if that's how you get to a feel better place, then you do that. Now,
do it that way.
Once you get ready to go to a deeper level, call me.
Call me. www.themerchcenters.org.
Because there is a rabbit hole perspective on all of that you just said. You know, you were talking about the company does XYZ and I feel like I can't control it. It's out of my control. So I do these things to have a better understanding. Once you're ready to get past that and look at it on a different level, then that's a kind of a rabbit hole place to go, because we won't go there. Nobody packed a sandwich today. I think the bread's soggy from the hurricane.
Okay.
But
go ahead.
I think I want to have a quick conversation about this, though.
Okay.
It is okay to not have a feeling about something as well.
Okay.
Let me say it differently. Society and other people can sometimes expect us to always have some sort of emotion and physical reaction to circumstances and events.
Agreed.
And if we don't have any kind of emotion or any kind of physical face or reaction to something, then we're considered weird. Like, why are you just sitting there with no emotion on your face? Why are you sitting there with no emotional response to it? And I think getting to a place where it's okay to not have an emotion, just the same as it is okay to have emotion. That's balanceability. Not being uncomfortable, not necessarily having no emotion about something. Because as you work on your definitions and as you begin to realize, okay, I've got definitions I need to change and everything, what I notice for me is that it temporarily removes any kind of emotion about it. And at first that was like, oh my God, I'm going to be just like this Alexa AI that has no emotion. And that's weird and it's not right and it's wrong and something's wrong with me.
Okay.
So coming to a place where having no emotion about something is okay as well. You don't have to have some sort of emotion about it, and especially if it's not a true organic emotion. Don't create an emotion just because somebody or something outside of you expects you to react or respond in a certain way. And so then you unnaturally create some sort of emotion around it when you wouldn't normally. Because then that's when things get confused and jumbled up. Like you asked me if I was excited about something, and for whatever reason, I was at a place in my mind where I was like, well, I mean, that doesn't really, I don't really feel excited. And so I'm not really going to give you some physical facial example or some body language of unnatural excitement that's not there. I'm not going to create it just because the person feels like they need it.
Right.
It's okay for me to not necessarily have an emotion about something. That's an okay place to be as well.
Right. Don't create emotion because you have an expectation that other people expect you to have an emotion. And so you would put one in place when there's not normally one in place.
Yeah.
And based off a definition of what you think they expect of you.
Right.
Okay. That's fair.
And being okay with having no emotion about it. That it just is kind of a so what thing. Like if you don't have a definition or you don't have an opinion or you don't have a concept or a viewpoint on whatever the topic is, it's perfectly okay to have no emotion about it necessarily, to just be truly neutral about it and that be okay as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Our emotional navigational system through life that's based off pain and pleasure. Sometimes if we have a definition in place that people expect us to have an emotional or physical or human response to something, and we don't, we will run through our Rolodex real quick and just grab one and put it in place, which in turn creates another definition based off that reaction that you're going to repeat because definitions create beliefs.
Right.
And so it can cause a rabbit hole of events.
Yeah.
So
and it can kind of muck up the reality.
Kind of having that nonchalant attitude towards those kind of things.
Not necessarily nonchalant, like I just don't give an F about anything.
Yeah.
Just picking and choosing the things that you're going to give attention to from an intentional place because you want to, because your goal on the daily is, and everybody, whether they realize it or not, our whole goal is to feel better, feel good inside of ourselves. That's the whole goal. And every single one of these things that we teach, all of these concepts that we teach are to teach people to find their own practices within their journey that help them find little snippets of feel better.
I feel good. Yeah.
And that's really the thing, is eventually getting to a place where you feel good all the time.
Yes.
And so picking and choosing what emotional response you're going to have to something is still your choice, and ultimately gives you ultimate control about every single thing.
Yes.
Even down to whenever something happens like a hurricane, you get to choose whether you're going to look at it as a destructive, disastrous, horrible thing, or if you're going to choose to see it as a spring cleaning of sorts of the planet, and how it's going to bring people together, bring about more love in the collective consciousness, and give Mother Earth an opportunity to clean up the dead branches, clean up the stuff that is done, and move it on so that they can make room for the new evolution and the new growth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically the general motto of every single living thing, is out with the old so you can make room for the new. And you've got to have that whole circle of life.
This is what we do with definitions.
Otherwise,
to bring it back,
the closet gets full of the old, and there's not any room for the new.
and then you're on your knees in your closet with the door open, just throwing things over your shoulder, like,
Right.
because this is no good. This is no good. This goes in the trash. This don't fit anymore.
Right.
And so it's the same thing, really, with definitions. To bring it back, that's pretty good, wasn't it? I
Yeah.
brought it back all the way to definition.
Yeah.
That's
Give
pretty good.
yourself an applause.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that.
Which it brings about another good topic of, sometimes it's also beneficial to look at because when you create your reality, it's mirroring back to you things that you could look at and improve if you wanted to evolve.
Yes.
So sometimes looking at verbiage, events, circumstances, not as literal things, but also exploring, what is the symbology?
Okay.
What is this symbolically trying to show me? And I don't know that we practice that. We take things very literal. And so playing with the symbology of it. For example, I'll share my mediumship the other day. I had an individual that had an experience with the cardinals.
Remember? Oh, yeah. I remember
that?
this, yeah.
And he was sharing.
You made him cry, right? And that's why he left. He was crying.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He was sharing a story about how he was coming to work and walking in, and this some of cardinals started attacking him. Well, of course, some of you may or may not know, I can see and talk to dead people, and they will come to me if they need help communicating to the human aspect of other beings that aren't quite as open and receptive as I am to allowing that non-physical energy in, to be the conduit verbally of the information they're trying to get across to another physical individual that has a physical body. It's called mediumship or channeling, or I mean, it has many names
or
out
crazy,
there. Or I just say, you know what, I see dead people. I talk to dead people. Anyway.
I see dead people. And we all know that the cardinal is a messenger bird.
Yeah.
And in the spiritual belief system of the Native Americans, the cardinal's a messenger.
Right.
And so,
and I always go into these situations kind of tiptoeing, because I never know what where the human's at when I have a dead person interacting with me, wanting me to help them convey. So I always tiptoe into it. And he said, I had this weirdest thing happen to me this morning. These 3 cardinals were just attacking me, dive bombing me. I don't even remember exactly what the words were. And I don't understand why. So then the next thing was, well, I think, and I looked at James and I was like, I think cardinals represent bringing a message in. So then we kind of went on that talk bringing messages in. Yeah, they represent messages like James just said. And somewhere along the conversation, he was like, I don't know what the message is. And I was like, somehow.
You see, what had happened was.
I snuck in, the whole, well, maybe it's somebody trying to conversate with you.
From the other side.
Maybe it's one of your other people that's passed on that's just bringing you a message saying, hey, I'm
here's
here.
the tiptoeing going on.
Like a little mouse in the night. Long story short, I took him to a place of, okay, well, what's the symbology? What did it mean to you? What kind of feelings did it bring about in you? And I talked him through how to recognize the symbology of the cardinal. Because at first we started talking about, well, maybe there's a nest by, and maybe they're protecting their nest somewhere. And he was like, no, it was in a weird place. I don't see where they could have had their nest. They came off the roof.
Why would there be 3 of them?
Why would there be 3? Yeah, we had that whole conversation. So then I bring it back around to, okay, well, then how did it make you feel? What did it symbolize to you? And he brought up the fact that
his nephew.
He said, well, maybe it's my nephew bringing me a message who had recently passed.
Yeah, this was like last month. Yeah.
And for those of you that can see and hear dead people, you will know exactly what I mean when I begin to describe this. It's like, yes, okay, he's going in the direction. And then you hear the nephew be very excited and cheering of, okay, yeah, here we go. He's getting it. And long story short, in essence, what he talked himself through was the nephew was bringing in the symbology of the Cardinals. The Cardinals represented a baseball team that he once had of an event that they shared together that was extremely important to the nephew and obviously had some importance to the uncle because he brought up the memory and remembered it. And so they shared a moment via me, but because of the symbology, not because of the literal. And sometimes had we stayed on the literal of, okay, well, maybe these birds are protecting their nest and there's a nest close by and that's why they were dive bombing. If we'd have stayed in the literal, we would have never gotten to that place of him getting to experience the amazing feeling of connecting with his nephew in the non-physical world. And so what I want you to leave here today with is play with the symbology of things. How did that make you feel? What symbolically could it be representing to you?
Right.
Instead of literally what it means. Start exploring that.
And the symbology will lead you into the directions of the definitions of why, like his definition completely changed. He's always been curious about the other side.
Yeah.
So to speak. And he's always had a belief in ghosts. Like he told me many ghost stories when we've been eating breakfast. Not that they're really ghosts, but he's always been kind of open and receptive to it. But when it hit him in that literal sense, like you just hit him with, because you really didn't even say that much. He kind of talked himself through it all.
He did. And that's the way I like to do it when I am doing mediumship. I don't like to give them all the answers. I want them to utilize their skills and abilities to find the answers with me coaching them through how to do it.
Right.
That's how I do my whole practice is you don't come to me for me to say, okay,
give you all the answers.
Here's the answer. Go forth and do this. And all will change and be better. I help you utilize the same skills I have. Everybody has these skills that James and I have. They just are not used to using them and practicing them.
Being aware of them.
And being aware of them.
And that's because of the definition. Because they don't the definition they've been taught of that is the only weird people do that.
Or only special people can do that. That's why I got called gifts.
Yeah.
The spiritual community started calling them gifts because only the gifted ones can do this.
Yeah.
And that is completely not true. It is not. And so if you change your definitions and give yourself permission, we all come with the same bag of tricks. It's just whether we put definitions in place that allow us to have beliefs to play with all of our little bag of toys and tricks that we brought with us spiritually.
And so to kind of bring it all back together, when we have a definition of something that if it creates uncomfortableness, stop and say why about it and figure out if you can, if you want to, and change that definition and see how it changes your perception of the situation when it happens again.
Right. Make a choice to have no definition. Does this really need a definition as well? Don't forget that concept of it as well. Yeah. Does this really need a definition by me? Is it really necessary for me to even have an opinion of this one way or the other? And if not, then give yourself permission to not really even have an opinion or a definition in place at all.
Right. Eventually, if you need a definition, the definition will happen.
Well, yeah.
Eventually.
And as you practice it, you'll get to a place where you can say to yourself, you know what? I don't really need a definition. This is not beneficial to me along my trail, along my journey. I'm just going to file it in the Universal Library. I don't really need it.
I hear the ladder moving now. Don't put the book on the shelf.
I have assistants for all of that. I don't do it. I just go turn it into the librarian, and she tags it, bags it, puts it on the shelf.
So when you redefine your definitions, it'll change. It changes a lot of things in your life, and it could create new results, which for me, sometimes it gives me a little bit of weird feeling. Like I'm working on some things right now, and I redefined a couple things this morning when I was in the shower. I'm waiting for those definitions to really hit home.
Yeah.
And so they fall into place in my little emotional navigational system of my human life. And that little transition period for me is a little weird sometimes.
What do you mean by weird?
While the definition changes. Oh, weird. Define weird. Like
you mean like mentally you're in a weird headspace?
No, it
or
kind of makes
physically
me,
you've experienced things that feel in your body, like physical things?
Yeah, it kind of feels like a little blank void for a minute. Like because ultimately my goal is to go through life and not have my experiences and that are created by myself based on my own definitions and my own emotional navigational system. Sometimes when that little void is missing, you're like, okay, so if this happens today, what am I going to do?
Oh my God, panic. I don't have anything in place if this happens.
Which is what you just said. Sometimes it's okay not to have one definition. Yeah. And I think that's that transition period from one definition to the next for me. When I change a definition, that lull while it's, my little squirrels are running around in my head, removing the files from one cabinet to the next or dropping the new ball down in the hole. What was that show? Inside Out?
Yes.
That's kind of funny that I imagined myself doing that. But you've always talked about the squirrels.
You're not one who generally remembers parts of movies, so it's kind of funny that you remember parts of that movie.
I know, right? I'm not a movie buff. I like to watch movies, but I don't put them in my Rolodex of memories very often.
Yeah.
So I'm in that kind of transition period, and I just have to say to myself, it's okay. It'll sink in. It'll be what it needs to be, and it'll become what it needs to become. I just have to let it be.
Yeah, and that's definitely a good quick topic to discuss as well. As with anything, as you're expanding and growing by way of changing definitions and then beliefs, it can bring about uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is a very heavy word, so I hesitate, but here we are. It can bring about feelings in the physical body, in the energetic body, and in the mental body that feel out of sorts or feel uncomfortable because it's not the norm anymore. You're moving away from that norm and creating a new norm. And so when you do that, and you're new at the practice of doing it, or even when you're not new and it's a really heavy, deep-seated belief with lots of definitions attached to it, it can feel a little panicky. It can feel a little anxiety. And then also, when you get rid of some heavy luggage, heavy beliefs, and they finally do release and turn loose, that can make you physically feel dizzy.
Yeah.
It can bring about a dizzy feeling within the physical body. So, keep those things in mind, that if there's nothing physically wrong with your body and you're healthy and well, but you're having a little moment of dizziness, it could be that whatever you were working on in your belief systems, or even if you're working on the energy component of your body, as that energy moves and changes, it can bring on physical symptoms. And so honor that part of it as well. If you need to do some extra rest, or if you need to set a minute and give yourself a physical break, a mental break, do those things. Just keep listening to the body.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. And so what it does for me is it makes me stop and say, I'm going to redefine my world today, and how I'm going to, one step at a time when I need to. And when something doesn't feel good, I'm going to look at it and say, why? And maybe change my perspective on things. When you change your perspective, it creates a new way of looking at things.
Yeah, 100%.
To put it in layman's terms, so how you define the world and define the actions of the world, or the people around you in your social network, in your employment network, in whatever, how you define each one of those aspects. If you can change them and fix them if they're antiquated, if you need to change them, only change them if you need to, based off your emotional navigational system. I think that you'll find that when you look at it from a different perspective with a new definition, it changes your reality to a whole different way. And then you become more loving and caring and understanding of others more as well.
And of yourself.
I agree. I agree with that.
That's the key. I think is, staying conscious and aware of how are you defining yourself, and are you giving yourself room to breathe and grow and expand, or are you putting a lot of pressure on yourself and trying to carry the weight of the world on your own shoulders and not giving yourself the freedom to be something different?
Yes, I like it. So I think, are you good? You feel complete in this one?
Yeah.
I hope that we create in these podcasts your abilities, everybody's abilities that listens, to take the time for a minute and redefine realities one step at a time.
For yourself.
For themselves, right. For themselves. To where we bring in food for thought.
Yeah, for sure.
And, because we deal every single day with a large social network of people, and they have different personalities and they conflict differently. And I hope that those that listen to this can stop for a moment and say, why does this bother me with this other social being in the world? And what can I do? Because you can't change other people's definitions.
Right. Well,
you can only change your own.
Right. And it's not just with other beings. It's with concepts of the world around us. It's with every aspect.
Yeah.
Every single bit of it. What's going on in the world? What event? Why is it bugging me?
Yeah.
And does it need to? And doing it from a place of self-satisfaction, not them satisfaction.
Yep, correct.
That is a highly, highly, highly important place to do it. Because if you are changing definitions from a place of satisfying the them of the world, you're going to find yourself right back to square one.
You're going to bifurcate in the wrong direction.
It is okay to be a little selfish in this process and change it for yourself first, because that then will create an individual that is happy, whole, and vibrating at a higher frequency. And that will turn around and change your actions and your energy towards your outside environment. And the universe always says, no matter what that frequency is, oh, this is your frequency. Well, here, have some more of that. Yeah, and if you're putting out that positive, loving frequency because you're happy, whole, and feel amazing on the inside, then the universe says, here, another spoonful of that.
All right, I guess we're going to close up.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, we hope that we give you plenty to think about today. And if you redefine something today or tomorrow, whenever you listen to this podcast, put it in the comments. And what you do, and if you don't mind sharing, we appreciate everybody sharing. And if there's something you want us to talk about, go ahead and put it down there, or send us a fan mail, and we can. Do our comments work? Yeah, our comments work. Oh, okay. And the fan mail, and don't forget to share with your friends, like, follow, subscribe if you want that subscriber content.
And ring the bell.
And ring that bell so you get notifications when we upload something new. We appreciate every one of y'all. We love every one of y'all, and we hope that you can learn to redefine the world today.
Love you.